All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everybody. Yes. Good morning, everyone. It is a Wednesday. Here is Sia and Gordon, Gareth, and you and me.
What?
All right. What's
Just
happening?
happened there?
I know we just
We just started a
remake-
man band.
Oh,
We just
Got covered
remixed
at
the
point,
intro
man.
music on the spots here. That's what
That's
just
right.
happened.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We don't fuck
Yeah.
around. We are real.
incredible talent.
Oh,
Thanks.
Gord, can I tell you what, Gord? I'm cross with you. I'm going to start with that.
Oh,
Golly, why?
I'll tell you, golly, why? Because you told me I had to watch that Zack Snyder Superman, Batman, Wonder
I
Woman.
haven't the Justice League Snyder Cut. I still
Yes.
haven't seen it. I'm just excited to do so.
that
some of the-
4-hour-long situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it. It took up. I think it's even longer than 4 hours because I started watching it last night at 10, and I thought, oh, this will be plenty of time.
I started watching a 4-hour thing at 10. Okay,
Yeah, but
that's my fault. Apologies for that, Gareth.
Yeah, I'm still going to hold you responsible because I eventually got to sleep at like 1:30, maybe even 1:45 last night. Very good movie, I'll tell
I was
you.
going to say,
mean,
was it good? Because I still haven't I haven't set 4 hours aside yet. I'm still meaning to watch it.
I really enjoyed it.
gosh.
It was good. And
Did you watch the original one? Because I didn't. I mean, those DC movies got so crap that I never even bothered with Justice League or Aquaman.
Totally with
And then
you.
I accidentally bothered with Wonder Woman 1984, and I think I mentioned on the last show, it is in the top 3 shittest sequels
Yeah.
ever. After
no,
Anchorman
definitely.
and Kingsman.
100% right. So, no, I didn't really know what was going on because there are plots, holes in the plot that I didn't really, because I'm not a huge DC fan. So I kind of had to string it together in my own head and figure out also who was who and what was going on. And I didn't know who the fast guy is. That Flash?
Yeah, of course it's the Flash.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, no.
Of course.
I need.
He says.
Well, yeah, I didn't really. And then there's
DC
this
have got like 12 interesting characters, and the Flash is one of them.
Yeah, well, I had to figure out that the one was Cyborg, the other one was Flash, the other one was Wonder Woman, then there was Aquaman, and
But
Batman.
was it like suitably gritty and like engaging, and you gave a shit? Because that's what DC are missing. And I'm looking forward to seeing Evil Superman.
Yeah, that was quite cool because they show Superman. He doesn't appreciate being being brought back or whatever. So you'll see what happens. Anyway,
Gareth,
Evil
did you
Superman was
did you feel the full 4 hours?
one at a time, please, class. One at a time, please,
So I
class.
can only see myself, and the lack of visual conversation
better?
cues is odd.
Yeah. See, you were going to
Did
say?
you feel the full hours, like the full 4 hours, or did it go by in a flash? Excuse the pun, or
It was good. I just needed, in a 4-hour movie, you start getting like tired. I mean, I was lying in bed watching it on the laptop, and eventually you're like, this is giving me a crick in the neck. So it was good. It was
A
good
friend of
movie.
mine recommended breaking it into 2 2-hour sections or 4 1-hour sections.
They've actually got chapters in it. It's such a long movie that they break it down for you. Like they go chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3.
I'm not
chapter
going to do it in
4.
one sitting. I don't have a 4-hour attention span for anything.
There's even this really confusing epilogue after the movie, which is easily another 15, 20 minutes. So and it's confusing as hell because they've got the Joker in there as well. Very
Yeah, and
weird.
I think Lex Luthor's in there too.
Yeah, and I forgot like Lex Luthor's role in the whole thing. So
As he was trapped in
even though-
Superman versus Batman.
like I'm totally willing to admit that I'm a nerd, but I'm not that much of a nerd that I knew all the backstories. So I was a bit confused at some point. That's all I know.
I've always thought D's and C's was like the code for their marks at superheroing in school.
Yeah, that's probably about right because Marvel get it so much better. So
We've got
Sia,
97,400 characters. 8 of them are famous, and we've screwed
Yeah.
up the last 18 movies about them.
they have. They really have. They're not as good. So, Sia, you're in the office today because Sia had to go in at the last minute. Simpiwe was having problems. So I think we're all connected and everything's
I
working fine.
sometimes go in at the last minute too, so I feel your pain.
Gord,
See, what's
Gareth, don't encourage him. Don't indulge this.
is it cold there now? Early in the morning, first thing, because we used to do this every day, and honestly, I haven't been at the studio early in the morning. I think the last time we did it was for our birthday last year. Remember, we did the 1st of May in the studio, and that was horrible. It was already heading into winter.
I have these big, thick black curtains at my place. And so the curtains are always drawn when we start the show. And you guys talk about how dark it is. And I just nod every so often, not getting it. I left the house. What did you say?
I was going to say, you shouldn't judge your curtains for being thick. Maybe they're strong in other areas. Are they particularly athletic? Perhaps they've got a high EQ. Are they very sensitive? I mean,
how selfish!
It's not all about math
never
tests.
Find out what the characteristics.
You haven't unlocked your curtains.
Are.
True, they probably got ballet in them or something magical, and you've just never found out because they're thick.
I know, so selfish of me. But when I left the house this morning, it was so freaking dark. I thought,
yes.
Oh, wait a minute! This reminds me of the good old days. But
I've been cold in the last week for the first time in about a couple of years, actually. But like where you feel it in your hands, and it's awesome. I'm so enjoying
feel it in your fingers,
layers,
feel it in your toes,
and how about
I can put them on.
Suggestion that Gord and I were discussing at the beginning of the show this morning. Maybe we start the show in winter at 8 instead of at 6.
Maybe that's a great idea. Always.
Anybody in favor? We could start the show on the 1st of May at 8 o'clock in the morning. How about it?
Yeah, because 2 hours of sleep is not important if it's warm, and is if it's not.
What do the American shows, well, also the British, also do daylight savings and whatnot? What do they do? I've never thought of that.
Show stays in its time slot, but the time slot moves along with all other time slots.
I mean, we could permanently move the time slot. We do whatever we want. I don't have to check with management. Like we can discuss.
I've been saying it. I've been saying it. No one's been hearing it.
This could be like a board meeting.
I've been saying it. Lucky Chad and I both vote for later.
Maybe people would enjoy that more. Tracy says she doesn't mind. She says absolutely start it at 8. That's no problem. Sean says it's a cuck idea though. So you see already we 1 for, 1 against. Tanya says 8 would be awesome.
Are we letting the listeners vote? Because I'm gonna rally mine for the. Then we have to have the election at a set time.
Let's have an election. That's a good idea.
Okay,
let's do this. I reckon. Let's set a date in the calendar and we have an election.
Steph, Sean, so selfish. You want all of this suffering just so that you can have the show at the time you want.
Steph says, I agree, cuck idea. All right, so they're all coming in thick and fast now. What about Leanne? We need her. Don't think 8 will work for her. Hard no on 8 o'clock, says
well,
Simon.
Screw you. This is the people who are up and listening at 6 a.m. It's like going to the Metallica concert and taking a scientific poll on whether Metallica are a good band. It's exactly what social media is. We all disagree. We all agree on something. Let's disagree together. It's like you guys are up at 6.
Opened up a can of worms
the
here.
30 of you that get up now. Let's wait until the people who watch this on YouTube later this afternoon get their say.
Oh, there's a huge opposition to this. A lot of people very, very angry about this. MSK saying, we're already at work at 8 a.m. 6 is fine. Let's do that. Basitsana saying, we compromise at 7:30.
Basitsana is mediating this henceforth. I nominate Basitsana to be the chairperson of this and oversee it for fairness.
Hey, there's a huge opposition to this, I'm afraid. People are not enjoying this idea.
But you asking the Metallica fans at the Metallica concert. These people have woken up for the show, all 14 of them. The rest are coming later.
No, so Gord, what you're also saying is very biased. You are saying if we set a time and a place, you want to get your own crowd of people who will side with you to further substantiate
people who would
idea.
like to listen to the show if it wasn't so early, as opposed to the people who are obviously listening to us live now because that's what they do.
All Well,
We
you
need
know what?
Basitsana, and we need the IEC, and we need mediators, and we need a gigantic budget for the cardboard boxes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we need a gigantic budget, which means that we're not going to do
I'm
that.
tabling, because it's obviously
Oh.
not a national scale election, I'm tabling 50 million rand to cover our
Yeah.
budget of 7 or 8,000 rand for this. And yeah, we got Basitsana, we need to pay her fees, and definitely
Yeah.
need a few consulting firms. I know lots, I've got friends in consulting firms, we can get like 7 or 8. Perfect.
Gareth, what made you vaguely consider it?
Well, Gord moans like a stuck pig every time we start the show at 6. He hates it. I mean,
I thought that was going somewhere completely else. I was like, don't tell them about my moaning, Gareth.
Yo, Gordon.
That term is a bedroom term. It's only affectionate when it's our time.
well, JLM says, why don't we record the show the night before? But I don't, you see, like that would be, I don't like that idea either. Although
Why?
I've got to tell you, like the one thing I absolutely love, it's the reason weekends still make a difference to me. We spoke about this briefly on Monday, is I love sleeping in, man. I love sleeping in. I do not like waking up. Having said that, I do love that our day is, our day starts at 6 and we can get really productive early on.
Yeah.
Be exhausted for the rest of the day.
See, like if you listen at 6, then you can listen at any time, unless you really care about hearing us live. Some
Exactly.
people, it's
But if you
important.
listen at 6, you got to listen to yesterday's show. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
I actually, since this whole change of eating plan, etc., have just started waking up much earlier than I normally do. So I'm actually really only losing maybe an hour and a half on what was normal. When we had to go to the studio, I was up 3 hours earlier than I normally would be. So I slept for 3 hours less every Wednesday than every other day of the week. It's not as bad under lockdown. It's still an hour and a half early for me, though.
For my own selfish reasons, if we move the time of the show, it would really be like the carpet being ripped right under my feet. I don't know if I'd have a foundation anymore. It's like if we record the show the night before, then what time do I wake up? I don't have to wake up
No.
at 5. So I'll be a bit of a schlump to wake
Yeah.
up at 8:30 and then, oh no, well, do I really even want to have morning meetings at all? Then I'll move all of my meetings to the afternoon and I'll be that guy in sweatpants
I think-
again
I
at
think,
2 p.m.
No. Treshka has the kind of name that you've got to listen to, and Treshka says keep it at 6. She's
What
not even
does
willing
that
to discuss.
mean?
Treshka's name is very much the kind of name that someone who's decisive has. Her parents knew that she was the kind of person who didn't brook any argument or take any bullshit. So Treshka says keep it at 6.
Otherwise, they would have called her Brooke. I do think that taking the what time referendum just after 6 is bad strategy. But Steph asks how come we can see you so clearly today. Thank you for noticing, Steph. I brought Lamphony with me today.
Who's Lamphony? Oh, look at that. You've got a lamp.
Yeah, and Lamphony is now chilling.
Man, is it dark when Lamphony's off.
Yeah.
Gord, you do know that you don't have to name every single inanimate object you own, right?
No, you do.
You
do.
come look Fanuel in the eyes and tell him that to yourself.
Fanuel?
With an E, it's the biblical Fanuel.
Oh, how dare disrespect Fanuel.
I had
Michael Raffone and I are having no more of this conversation.
Michael Raffone.
Gord.
It's actually Raffoni because it's originally Italian, but we just
That's so good.
anglicize that shit.
Oh,
You
that's
need to
great.
start seeing more people in your life, please.
Why? When I've got Fanuel and Lamphony and Michael Raffone?
That's exactly the problem.
These are your friends.
Sure. It's a jewel.
Well, Dogozza says it would ruin my whole schedule if you started at 6. I mean, started at 8 instead of 6. So. Yeah, I think, all right, you know what? For the sake of not starting a fight, until further notice, this idea will be shelved. Everybody calm down. Everybody calm down, including you,
That's directed
Sia.
at you, Gord.
Yeah, but I could also see you having a bit of a panic attack over this stuff. So we'll just keep it where it is, all right? Everybody calm down.
We should
So-
do the should we start at 6 debate at exactly 6 next time to make it even more fair.
Gord, we'll do one at 8. prefer. All right, we'll do both. We'll do both. So listen, first things first. Sia watched SABC One News last night
I'm
to
sorry to
see
hear that, Sia.
Noxolo Grootboom's final broadcast. I didn't know this was a thing.
Oh,
Then I saw it trending on Twitter. Just explain to me why this is legendary and who she was, and remind me of the whole story here, because I honestly don't know. I hate to sound like an idiot, but I'm not in the loop with the SABC. I'm really
oh
not.
my gosh. She's just woven into just South African culture and the fabric of a lot of people's lives. You know, back when TV viewing was TV viewing and everyone would gather around the television, that was the thing. In
Right.
some homes, you even ate in front of the TV. So it was the case like that for our house. And you start, there was some sort of sitcom at like 7, some American sitcom, and then it would go to the evening news at 7:30, and then it would go to Generations when 8 o'clock was 8 o'clock. So
Right.
you would sit and you'd have your dinner watching the news, and Noxolo Grootboom was that person. She was like, yes, we talk about how warped relationships are now with people who you admire. But she was that aunt, that sister, that mother for a lot of us. And there was that trust. It's like, oh, if Noxolo says this, then you ought to
Really?
listen. Noxolo is there for your credible source of news. And then she had this iconic catchphrase at the end of the bulletin, which she say in Xhosa, which is "Ndinthanda nonke emakhaya," which means "I love you all at home." It was always a thing of "We love you too, Noxolo." She was a legend. So after 37 years of being in news in South Africa, she retired yesterday. And it was her final bulletin. It was scheduled at 7. And this is when you go, social media is good. It wasn't malicious. So I am an advocate of this. The final bulletin was scheduled at 7. The president announces in the afternoon to say he's going to make his address at 7 o'clock. People swarmed the presidency, the government account, saying, excuse me, no. We are busy at 7 o'clock. We are watching Noxolo Grootboom's final bulletin. We cannot watch the president. President, you have to do something. And a few minutes later...
I can't... I really don't...
Yeah. A few minutes later, the president announces and says they're moving the bulletin time.
I see her in her outfit from last night, and she's wearing like a whole Xhosa thing. But honestly, I cannot tell you that I've ever seen her. I do not.
Neither. I feel sort of culturally ignorant, but at the same time, I have avoided the SABC in all forms since the late 90s. So it's not personal. It's just the whole station, the whole entity.
Yeah, her big heydays were in the 90s when she was on television more regularly. She sat and she broadcasted, and she was on the broadcast for Chris Honey's funeral. That was before my time, but even I've heard that was quite iconic.
She's been there a long ass. Sure, okay.
And then after the 90s, she wasn't on television every single day. But when Madiba passed away...
So she had like an Oprah phase, like doing things when it's necessary, big things kind of. I'll call you type of thing.
Yeah, she was called in for those moments. When Madiba passed away, also it was the public who was like, Noxolo's Xhosa, Madiba was Xhosa. There's this thing of... we want a ceremony like Madiba's funeral held to a particular standard. So the public voted for Noxolo to come back, and she did that. And the same with Mamweni's funeral as well. People said, we want Noxolo back to give us the updates on this.
Like, she's probably had one of the longest careers in that case in television. So good for her. I mean, that's nothing to just ignore and move on from, because tell you what, if you've been in television for that long in this country, you've really done something good. The only people who I reckon could keep up with her are like the Rian Kravagens and...
I was about to say Rian Kravagen, who is immortal.
Yeah, I mean, like, I honestly can't think of another name. I think that's it.
Derek Watts in a South African context.
Maybe
Derek Watts. He's really had the power to go along... No, never mind.
but that's it. That's incredible. You know, it's well, good for her. I'm sorry I didn't know. Probably because I didn't really watch SABC news at any stage. I was never a big SABC news fan, so maybe that's why I was just ignorant of the whole thing. But there we go. So
But
well done.
You talk here about the whole like ritual of watching like TV and particularly free to air TV. I mean, I've never had my own DSTV since I moved out of house. I had a girlfriend for a few years who had it, and I just by the time I wanted it, downloading was a thing. But I did used to watch countless hours of Dragon Ball Z. You'd get back from varsity sometime mid-afternoon, roll 85 joints, and watch every episode of this really drawn-out animated soap opera. And I really like it. And that was something where it was like a part of your
What were you
life.
just? Oh, there we go. Look, Dragon Ball Z. I wondered what you were reaching for there. Okay.
Oh my gosh! When 5 o'clock was 5 o'clock.
Gordo, what are those? What are those little toys? What are those little toys called? Those things that you have?
Funko Pops, and I've accidentally got way more than I want.
Yeah, my brother's got a bunch of those too. He
I
loves
was
them.
looking for a particular sort of 5 or 6 of them and found lots of other ones and then bought a bunch of them, and then everyone saw that I have them and my friends started giving them to me. Now I'm like, I've got so many.
Well, there are lots of comments coming through about Noxolo. MSK says we all grew up watching her before generations, back when news was at... Oh, Gord, is that you?
Yeah.
Back when news was at 7:30, she was in our homes every day at the same time. Cultural icon. Wow, okay. Well, there we go. And plenty of this. Like, my dad never missed the news, says Ntokozo. I grew up watching Noxolo. Rickis says, Gareth, you've been doing shows from 6 a.m. for more than a decade. Your system will be shocked when all of a sudden you have to wake up 2 hours later. You're probably right. Maybe I'll die.
I think you're going to be the same as Rian Kravok. Somebody commented that there's an echo on my vibe, but I'm hearing it as well.
Are you?
Mm.
All right. Leave the stream and come back. Exit and come back. Gordon.
Exit stream.
Come.
Everything is a song.
Everything's so. All right. Sia's at the studio this morning because we were worried Simpiwe wouldn't make it there on time, and she was running a little late. Which happens. It was Simpiwe's birthday on Sunday, so we think maybe she is suffering the after effect. I said to her yesterday, "Did you have a bit of a party?" Because it was on Sunday, and she's like, "Yeah." So I said, "But who parties on a Sunday?" She just smiled, so she obviously had something on.
Exit stream.
He's back. Yeah.
Stream. Join stream. It's Gordon and he's in the stream. Am I sounding echoey or not?
Yeah, let us know if you think he's still sounding a bit echoey, because it's certainly sounding all right on my side. If Gord is a problem,
it sounds a little better.
we will discipline him accordingly.
Ooh.
Oh, please don't kick me off the show at this time of morning,
so that you can go back to sleep.
Suspended for the day.
Yeah, I'm suspended.
Yeah,
for echoing.
That's what we'll have to do to you. All right. So the one thing was Noxolo, and then we've obviously got the president who Sia mentioned. He came on yesterday and had some things to say. Cyril had a family meeting, which I hate that term, family meeting, because it never feels like a family meeting. It feels like you're
about to be presented with you're about to be outnumbered and informed of something you don't want to do.
Correct. And look, I didn't watch it, so I didn't even see that last night, because I thought, these days you don't even have to see the news. Like, someone's going to send you a WhatsApp afterwards to tell you what was said. And
this
I
is my theory.
What's that?
I just come on here once a week, and if any major global coups have happened, or there's been a war, or somebody legitimately famous has died, I find out here. And if I don't find out here, it obviously wasn't that important.
Well, that's exactly what happened last night. I watched it, and then I saw, oh, okay, you don't actually need to know, because your friends let you know. So I got this WhatsApp from somebody saying, so basically they're not selling alcohol from Friday, so you can't buy alcohol at the shops, but you can still have drinks at restaurants and bars. And I was like, you know what? I don't really care much about alcohol, so I'm fine with this. But it still irritates me that government have got us complying with these dumb regulations. I know why they're doing it. They're doing it because they're worried about Easter becoming a super spreader event, and we've managed to get our numbers under control. So there's Cyril. Who was it who said when he stands up, it's serious, and when he sits down, it's not? Because he was standing up for last night's by the looks of things, and it wasn't so serious.
Yes, I forgot which way around it goes, but it was a friend of mine who told me that. Look, by the time the president rolled around, I was so snug on the couch.
He rolled around?
No.
At what stage of the broadcast did he roll around, and why? Was he on fire?
I had planned my whole afternoon around watching Noxolo's last bulletin at 7. So I had a snack.
I got to say, you treated this like a religious ceremony, this Noxolo thing.
It was a big event. So, I planned it. I had a snack. I had a throw on. I had my fluffy socks. I had the heater going. So
you made it romantic.
I watched that and it was great. So by the time the president came up, I was so comfortable. I was lulled into sleep. By the time he started and he said, "My fellow South Africans," I was already dozing off. So I also relied on the friends, and I think we all have them now in our circles. They're always those friends who want to be on top of things. They want to be the ones who break the news and inform us all. So I woke up to texts and infographics from people about what the president actually said.
Cut this little clip and send it to Noxolo. Noxolo, excuse me. And we should, because I'm getting emotional, and I haven't had the relationship that you've had, and I'm like, Sia, get her back. We have to get her back for Sia.
Well,
no,
maybe
this is nothing compared to what some people did. The outfit that she wore yesterday was actually custom made by someone who loved watching her for years in the Eastern Cape. This person drove from the Eastern Cape up to Johannesburg yesterday to personally deliver it to Noxolo. There's Jessica Mlangeni, who's a big praise singer, who wanted to stop by Noxolo's house and give her a praise song, which is big in the Xhosa culture. And then there were a bunch of people who actually rocked up at the SABC yesterday just to be standing outside and to see Noxolo walk in. It was a massive thing.
Those people were at the SABC because they were fired and they're not getting their contracts renewed. Had nowhere else to go.
All their key cards have expired and they can't. Well, their key cards have expired and they don't know who to talk to about getting a new one.
That's probably what happened. SABC fires and hires people. So at the end of March is like death time on radio and television. And then they start new contracts in April. So listen, speaking of the SABC, I see that our friend, she's probably the only person who I still really keep in contact with. And even then it's very rarely, but I sort of message her every now and then just to check how she's doing. That's Sureshni Ryder, who was at 5FM with us. She apparently was there for like 18 years. That's a long time to be in one place. And they also got rid of her apparently yesterday. There are a couple of people that I know that are no longer there. Apparently Duran, who used to do sport, he's gone. Mm-hmm. So I don't actually know who's left. Like I honestly don't even know. I don't even know what like one name of people.
Most stations have at least 2 Durans, and now they've got none.
Now they got none, hey? That must be terrible.
It's very.
It's like, do they just play half the song and go, "This is Duran," and they.
Oh God!
So this joke's going nowhere, but I'm enjoying it. It's tickling me pink.
It's not so great.
It's very funny to me that I am on some of the SABC's press list, so I get sent this information. And then yesterday afternoon, I got the press release about particularly 5FM's new lineup. And I read through it and I thought...
Anyone we know?
Roger Good was doing their breakfast and he's now moving to an hour's slot daily between 6 and 7 p.m.
Isn't he the techno oak? Did he do breakfast?
He was doing breakfast and then now
breakfast on 5FM.
Then on Fridays,
so they've basically demoted
extended 2 hours.
He's got like an hour, and then lucky him. On Fridays, they give him a whole 2 hours. Wow.
But that's like when the jaw, right? I'm not a good.
Nicole De Silva will stay doing weekend breakfast.
She's lovely. I love her.
Then I only know one other name, which is Zanele Potelwa, but that's because I've met her around town. She's going to be doing midday from 12 to 3. But other than that, I don't know anyone else, bar some DJs over the weekend,
Jesus, it sounds dire over there. But they have fired a lot of people because they can't actually pay them. They've become too expensive. And the SABC, as we know, have no money. So
it's such a good time strategically to get rid of all of your established talent. Probably, a year after the world fully acclimated to streaming everything, like globally. Paid and retained talent on traditional broadcast media are leaving to make far more money, having far more freedom, doing it themselves on YouTube. In other news, the SABC have just stopped paying all their best people.
Gord, are you going to take Noxolo Grootboom's place?
No, I don't have any of the qualifications to do that. I'm not. Firstly, my vernac is nowhere what it should be. Secondly, I'm not trustworthy, calming, warming, informed, articulate, sometimes ish.
All right.
I've got maybe 20% of what is needed.
It is time for the news. Let's check out some of the headlines. So here is the president, a summary of the president's stuff from yesterday. He said that the country is going to remain on level 1. A few extra restrictions for the Easter weekend. He said basically they had a meeting and they've decided that alcohol sales will be banned on the following terms. Given the role of alcohol in fueling reckless behavior, we will put in place some restrictions over Easter. To this end, the sale of alcohol for off-site consumption will be prohibited this coming Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So big deal. I mean, unless you were planning a massive...
We're giving you a week's heads up that in order to do what you were going to do anyway, you need to do your shopping before Thursday. It's like we are trying to prevent a war. So free guns will only be issued on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Please be aware, you cannot buy guns on the weekend. Therefore, there shall be no more wars.
Right. That's it.
The one point that was surprising to me in his address was around the number of people who are allowed at a gathering. And I thought that's surprisingly large for a time when he would anticipate that there'll be a lot of gatherings, but 250 people inside. And I think it's 500 who are allowed to gather outside. I thought that was surprisingly large.
250 people is a packed small drum and bass, Joel.
That's a lot.
We're talking about a weekend that traditionally has a lot of church services that draw on for a very long time. There's a lot of singing and clapping hands and high-fiving and hugging, and then you must eat the blood of Jesus Christ, and then I'm going to feed you. And
you what? Just back one click.
Happen?
Blood of Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is where we need to be. So I was just rewinding. Go again.
All right. We've got without being glib, we've got more important things to talk about.
I just want to know if you're talking about communion or if there's something you actually.
No, it's communion.
Okay.
Yes, it's communion.
All right.
That's what they call it.
All right. A record petrol price hike is expected next week. This is important news, especially even if you're driving less, especially if you have a car and you're concerned that those costs are going up. Who isn't? According to estimates from the AA, petrol is said to increase by 73 cents a litre. That's a lot. Diesel by 39 cents a litre. Paraffin by 37 cents. And that is before additional April fuel levies kick in. When you factor in the levies, petrol could rise by as much as R1 a litre. That's a big, big change.
I love that they're called April fuel levies. It's like we are now overtly taking the piss. I'm pretty sure they're putting these petrol levies on to pay for the roads they're going to build for the 2010 World Cup. That's what the levies we get put on are usually for, so we can be prepared for the World Cup.
That's right, in 2010.
I love that they put a petrol levy on for 2 years to pay for the roads, didn't build the roads, then built the toll booths to pay for the roads, and then put and only finished the roads in 2013, and then put another petrol tariff. Firstly, once they were built, didn't take away the petrol tariff for building the roads, put another one on to pay for them again. And they still have never come off. It's like, we're going to put 20 cents on petrol for 2 years to build a building. 4 years later, the building's built, and they're like, we're putting 20 cents on petrol to pay for that building we built.
Yeah, that's you've just summarized the whole plan. It's basically a way to get your money that they shouldn't be doing, but they're crooks. So in Cape Town, they found the body of a 17-year-old girl near a farm in the Groot-Drakenstein area. Apparently, the grim discovery was made at 7 p.m. on Monday night. Apparently, the police have said an autopsy will be conducted to determine her death. Apparently, they found the body was decomposing already, so you can imagine been there for a while. In Ravensmead, a murder probe is underway after the burnt body of a woman was found Tuesday morning. This is 2 women found in 1 week. Very, very concerning. If that doesn't worry you a little bit, then I don't know what worries anyone.
And those are just the ones that got found.
Correct. And they're following up all leads in order to arrest the suspect or suspects responsible for both of these murders. Ah, man. You know, when are we going
screw the news? This is just so horrible, and I understand it's reality and we have to deal with it. But yeah, see, that's just the worst. 17 years off.
Here's some more news to make you feel great this morning. A Mexican man was accused of smuggling people into the United States. He was smuggling 13 other immigrants who died in a horrific car crash near the border, and they've all been arrested, those who survived, and charged with federal crimes. Prosecutors said on Tuesday the SUV crash when a packed vehicle collided with a truck in California after crossing the border on March the 2nd made global headlines and came amid a fresh surge of migrants attempting to enter the country from Mexico and Central America. And the Biden administration now has 4 times the number of kids in cages that Trump did when they accused him of being a terrible human rights violator for doing exactly the same with less kids in cages than Biden. And are the media saying, kids in cages? No, they're not. Why? Because they love Biden. If you thought the media in America weren't biased, here's all the proof you ever needed. Unreal. And then this is something for you, Gordo. SpaceX chief Elon Musk confirmed that the latest prototype of the company's Starship rocket series had crashed after the video feed of the test flight cut out while people were watching it. At least the crater is in the right place, he joked, acknowledging the 4th failed test of the prototype. Something significant happened shortly after the landing burn start. Should know what it was once we can determine the bits later today and once we can examine them. The rocket, the SN-11, launched from the South Texas facility around 1 o'clock GMT yesterday and began its ascent to 10 Ks, experiencing some video glitches. And it was descending to the surface when the feed was lost again, and then they confirmed that it had actually crashed. So
you mentioned their 4 failed tests, and I realize I'm not trying to be a fanboy that immediately well, screw that. But actually, all 4 of these tests have achieved their primary goals perfectly, and the secondary goals of attempting landing have gone various degrees of better than expected. So they just wanted to see if they could land it on the target the first time, and it went down, and as it landed, it exploded. Then they had one that landed successfully. They had one that went straight into the ground and blew up. Then they had one that landed successfully, chilled for about 10 seconds, and then blew up. And this one, they said, the test is to get it to 10 Ks. Then they're going to try land it. Don't expect SN11 to come home. If it lands, it'll land hard. So they're not really oh shit, we lost another one, now we have to build another one. They've got the SNs up to past 20, all being manufactured one at a time. And each time they test a new parameter, and if that works, they try land it if they can, and then the next one they test a new parameter. So it's this brilliant process of prototyping where the prototypes are supposed to be expendable.
And this is because they want to reuse those rockets, right?
Yeah. So they're instead of trying to make a perfect one and losing billions every time you test it once a year and it blows up, just build more and more and more of them and get they also want to mass manufacture these, and not in the distant Jetsons future, before 2030. They want to be making these things like Boeing make airplanes.
I know we've basically touched on this once or twice before, but if you could, if I said to you, Gordo, there's a extra seat on a space shuttle flight around the Earth, you'll go up for 24 hours, you get to see the Earth, and you'll come straight back, and we'll let you go for free. Would you go?
If it was not the third flight of the technology if they'd been doing this for 3 or 4 years since their last explosion. But I don't know if I'd medically survive a flight into space. I don't think I'm about to turn 40, and I don't think I'd be allowed to get in.
Let's say it would be similar to just hopping on a plane to
Of course I
Cape
would.
Town.
To fly around the world and see the Earth from low Earth orbit. Yes, of course. I mean, I wouldn't get in a Soyuz rocket and do it now, but if they built a space plane, I'd go. Sure. I'd also wouldn't want to go and colonize Mars, but if I could, if they could make it safe for you to fly when you're a bit older, like mid 50s, 60s, I'd happily go die there. I would love to die on another planet. Shit, man. You're born on this planet and you die 90 million kilometers away on Mars. Fuck yes.
Oh,
Doing your bit for the, you go spend 5 years doing the radioactive shit, whatever.
I don't know, dude. I've got to say, I'm a very curious person, and I'm usually open to all kinds of ideas and learning and finding out about new things. And I'm not incurious about space, but I would be frightened. I wouldn't want to use up any of my life on Earth not being on Earth.
Oh, I would love it. And to go to the moon, man, it's mind blowing. Like, this is the stuff. It's future. The future is, I don't want to live forever, but I want to know what happens. I want to know what the end of the seasons are like. What will happen? So exciting.
Do you want to hear an insult today from Mum Jane?
To me.
okay.
It's not for you, Gord. You've already had your chance. She's been mean to you already.
She sure has.
But Jane, we're recording an insult from Jane every day. Maybe because this one is, we're going to save Simpiwes for next week, because I don't want her to kind of hear Jane insulting her and not be able to say back. So maybe we'll do
the reply.
Yeah, we've got to give her a right to reply. Correct, Sia. So maybe
we can also get her in if you want to.
Well, maybe we should just wish her a happy birthday, and then we could play her insult at the same time. I mean, talk about a two-edged, double. Talk about a double.
It's your birthday insult on the Gareth Cliff Show. Yeah, you just had a birthday, and we would like to let you know that you can go and
with headphones on, and I'm closed in my office. I heard Simpiwe cackle from down the corridor. All
right,
just from a birthday wish and an insult.
Get her on, then we can introduce her to everybody, because she's been running the show for like 2 months or more now. So
do you want her on her own device, or should she just come and hop on here?
Whatever's easier.
Okay.
Just whatever you prefer. And then we can also play her the insult that Jane has decided to craft for her. Jane has got some horrible things to say about everybody, and she doesn't rehearse them or write them down or anything. It just comes straight out of her.
Freestyle, straight off the top of the dome.
She's got beef with everybody. She'd
Screw
be a good
you,
rapper.
And you too, and your whole crew. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Hi, Simpiwe.
Hi.
So listen, first of all,
hi, Simpiwe.
Happy birthday for Sunday. I know that this is old news already on the show, but just in case people didn't know, what did you do for your birthday? Anything fun?
I drank.
Ooh, did you? But I mean, really? Nowadays it's about location. Did you go somewhere special, like the patio?
I went to a restaurant called Gratitude. So yeah, it was a bit long.
It was good.
Awesome.
Like you, it was nice, but you thought, why am I paying so much for this?
I wasn't paying, darling.
Then you must go big.
Yeah. So Gratitude sounds like one of these like hippie places where you look at the menu and then you order something, but you pay whatever you think is fair. Is it like
or
that?
You have to like go and farm it outside in the organic veggie garden and make it yourself.
I will definitely say I was not looking at prices because my friends were like, it's on us. So I was ordering away.
Nice friends you have. I like that. All right. Now you got to get ready because Jane has not got a happy birthday for you. She's got something to say. All right. And you know how Jane tends to say things, not just as they are, but in the most cruel way possible. So here's what Jane has to say for you this week. And everybody gets a chance. Gord had his, couple of weeks ago, Gordo?
Yes, I sure did.
All right. So here's what Jane has to say for you, Simpiwe.
Oh, Simpiwe. Look at you. At the time you left Cliff Central, I was thought maybe you're not gonna come back. Now you came back running. You know, you came back here with those tongue English man. And look at you now. You are back at Cliff Central. When you left here at Cliff Central, we thought you're not gonna go and come back. But now look at you. You are back. Simply, please next time when you go, just say bye exactly the way you're supposed to say bye. Don't go like you're not gonna come back. Especially now you came back here. It's like we have to welcome you back again. No, we're not gonna do that, girl. Next time when you leave, live forever. Don't come back, dear. Don't get mad with me. It's the way I am.
It's the way she is.
Don't get mad with me. It's the way I am. Yeah, she's the best. So you just got shit for leaving and coming back.
She's so horrible.
If that's the worst thing Mum Jane has got on you, then you're doing fine. Because
Yeah,
she
but
will go
Simpiwe-
low. She will go low if she's got the ammo.
So Simpiwe was basically, you were there from the beginning of Cliff Central. Like, you were one of our first interns when we started back in 2014, right?
No, I wish.
Yeah.
I think I joined like 2017, 2016.
No, bullshit. No. I remember you were like in that first crop of people. Then you left, and you started again with us like at the end of last year. Or am I completely confused?
I think you confused Gareth. Old age.
So
But it's still a long ass time. I mean, I started in 2017. I've been here for 3 years, and I also keep feeling like I'm new at this.
So why does Jane have a problem with you coming back? I mean, surely she should be happy about the fact you came back.
Yeah, I think she low key missed me and my laugh.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what they say, kumbule kaya. You always have to come back home.
Yeah,
That's
she actually just basically said that she was very sad when you were gone, and you better not leave again because it hurt her.
Right.
That's really what I
Yeah,
got
I'll try
from
not
that.
to hurt your feelings.
Yeah. It was a cry to not leave.
Well, there we go. Now everybody's met Simpiwe for the first time, so now you know who's running things in the studio. And just be careful. Don't upset Jane Malachi, because you will get something horrible thrown your way.
You're going to get something horrible anyway, so you might as well just live your life.
Yeah.
True.
There we go. Great. Ruth says, yes, Simpiwe does have an incredible laugh. So lovely. Isn't that laugh? We should have it on the show. All right. Very good. Cool. Man.
Some of our listeners are coming up with some glorious puns about April Fool's shopping promos.
Yes.
Vince Ruiz is going, it's just moved, a De Beers promo, April Jules. Someone else said a pool promo, Vince Ruiz again, a Jewish promo, April Shuls. Somebody had a Builders Warehouse promo, April Tools. There was an HTH promo for April Pools. But they've all gone. I can't say who said them. Sorry for the lack of creditation on the chirps, but they've moved off the scrolling.
Very good.
I love terrible puns. I love them the most out of all forms of humor.
Puns, they used to really irritate me. Now I just kind of...
You have to embrace them. It's like they say sarcasm's the lowest form of wit. It's like, it's not. It depends how you apply the sarcasm. Like in writing, it's this terrible thing. Like, first of all, they say you can't start a sentence with and. Yes, you can. You can start a sentence with a conjunction and a comma anytime you like. And similarly, puns are funny if they're funny. Like, screw you and your draconian standards.
You become very indignant when we talk about grammar, don't you?
No, I get very indignant about grammar, but I've just had to embrace puns. It's one of those things, like, if you don't embrace it, it'll kill you. I had to stop getting upset about people not using apostrophes, even though they're the simplest thing in the world, and you went to school and everything, because I was going to be upset every day. It only ends up making you sad, how angry other people make you.
I forgot that tomorrow's April Fool's. I actually totally forgot about that. It's today's the last day of March, so tomorrow's the first day of April, and that means there could be all those stupid bullshit headlines. But I don't think anyone's going to care, because the day after is a public holiday, and then we've got Monday off as well. Anybody doing anything for the long weekend?
Also, because time has not had meaning for at least what did they used to call those medium-sized blocks, when it's like 12 of a year, probably, since we had time had any meaning. Yeah, like the big blocks, but not the huge ones. Those are called centuries or something.
The medium-sized blocks.
Yeah, it goes day, month, week, century, decade, millennium.
Good one, Gord.
That's it.
Ruth is making an interesting point here, and I know you've got some updates for us. Gord Laws, she's called you Gord Laws, but Gord Laws, how's the kiddies book going? We're excited for them.
It is so exciting. It is so close to done. I've been trying really hard not to be bouncing off the walls about it for the last month when it's been tangibly almost ready to go, because I don't want to have people getting all excited and it's not available and getting all excited it's not available. Made that mistake when we accidentally started marketing Buttfighter a year and a half before it was ready. But it is very ready. It's very close. Anytime in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start a little pre-hype campaign. Maybe some pre-orders. There'll be a promo code for the listeners of this show to get a little discount if they want one. And I estimate, because it's final touches to the artwork and it's a few proof printing and just checking a few final things.
Do me a favor on your microphone there. You got a gain button. Just bring it down
check. Yeah,
it's just there's a little
too low now.
It's too soft now. No, much too soft.
More.
Wednesday.
Yeah, that's good. So a penguin called Dave and how the day was saved is going to be the first one.
It's too loud.
I can adjust it on my side, Gareth.
That's probably better, yeah.
All right, adjust it there. Sorry, because a lot of people, Yonda is saying here, giving us some audio advice. Gord, your mic is either too high, as there is a crackling sound on the app.
Stuff is changing. The audio was fine and then it started echoing. Just let me know if it's okay now. I can try and change it.
So here's a nice comment, just while Gord's sorting out his sound, from Neo. Neo says, listen to the MKT, that's Mbulelo's show for the first time last night. Must say it's the best sports show in the country currently. What a show. Tell Mbulelo I say shout out to him. Well, he listens to us in the mornings, so I'm sure he'll hear your compliment, Neo, but thank you very much for the feedback. We love to hear that. I saw Mbulelo yesterday for the first time in ages. And he's very amped up. He's got some amazing guests lined up. I mean, if you're a sports fan and you're not listening to this show and watching it on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, you are missing out on a really big thing. And it's doing extremely well. So go and subscribe. Be one of the first people, and you can say when this show goes international, you can say we were there from the beginning. Get on board ASAP. It is 7:00, so when we come back, we will have more for you and lots of cool stuff. LB's asking, where do we get MKT? On YouTube. Just look him up. Cliff Central Sport. You can also look up the MKT show. That's Bulelo's show. And you can find all the details on cliffcentral.com if you want to know more. So go and sign up ASAP. And Dogozo is also a big fan. Says it just comes on too late. Well, this show's too early. That show's too late. We're back where we started. We can't please everyone.
Space-time continuum is some bullshit.
Exactly.
I'm not all right with it.
You're not all right, huh?
No, because things are not at the times that suit me.
When we come back, we will hopefully be an hour into Gord's day, and he'll be much more happy with what's going on around him. Stick around, cliffcentral.com. Got lots of things to get into. A lighty darky.
Yeah. That's what I call the waking up, going to sleep length unit.
A lighty darky. Okay. It's not some kind of racist term. We just
No. It goes from light to dark.
All right.
I didn't even think in that direction until you pointed it out, and now I feel self-conscious.
Those words come out of my mouth.
I've got some incredible feedback.
I don't think about that sort of thing, and I'm sorry if it bothers people who do.
On email, we've got some really interesting emails from people that I got to get into as well. So remind me to do that. All coming up, cliffcentral.com, just after 7.
Becoming a politician isn't the only way to get a little something on the side. Have a great economic quarter regardless of the state of the nation with a Nando's quarter chicken and any single side for just 49 Rand. Nando's. Fire it up.
Your love is so sweet, yeah. So put it on me, yeah. Can we take it higher? What do you desire? Let me see that fire, ay, ay, ay. is so sweet, yeah. So put it on me, yeah. Can we take it higher? What do you desire? Let me see that fire, fire, ay, ay, ay.
Get ready for the 5th season of Blind History. The award-winning podcast takes a look at some of the most enduring heroes, greatest statesmen, most reprehensible villains, and despicable tyrants of history. Join me, Gareth Cliff, and my co-host Anthony Mederer for the new series of Blind History. Coming soon to cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, cliffcentral.com live on Wednesday morning. Gord, Sia, Gareth, you, me, everybody else. You know, we're all on this ship this morning together, sailing into the Wednesday and into the long weekend. Tomorrow, officially the last day of this week, and we've got another short week next week. So 4-day week, 4-day week, 4-day week. We're going to get used to this, and then God knows we might end up like Microsoft tested this thing. They tested a 4-day week and they found people's productivity went up by 40%. So I think we should seriously investigate the 4-day week as a permanent situation. Wouldn't that be nice?
And it's also like the approach to COVID kind of should be. It's like you're not saying you have to go and expose yourself to danger. You say you have every opportunity and facilitation to not expose yourself to danger, and maybe even some rules that people can't really be forced to work in a closed space if they don't have to. But you should be able to go and put yourself at risk if you want. I understand like a period of national or global containment, but it has to be a temporary measure. Ultimately, people should be able to choose whether to go out into a world with a sickness they might catch or stay home and not. So it's the same as the 4-day week. You're not saying you can't. Those of you mega productive people are probably working on the weekend anyway. You can work if you want to on a Friday, but people who employ you, certainly in the advertising and media industry, there's zero regard for employment hours. Your employers own you 24 hours a day, and the agreement is we'll try mostly give you your work during this time. It's not like there's a massive project and for 1 or 2 days of the month you work late. You always work late. Your job is until we let you go home, or you can go home but then get up at 4 a.m. and do it. So there should be parameters on the amount of time you pay to work, and a maximum to the amount of additional time you're allowed to work. And then it is your time. You are paid to be there from Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday. And after that, they need to remunerate you or ask you to do it as a favor. So, I'm not saying people shouldn't work hard. Whatever the terms of your job is, however hard you have to work or however much work you have to do, agree to that. And that's it.
In other words, you're not measured on time, you're measured on productivity.
Well, I'm more for being measured on productivity than time. I'm just saying there comes a point at which if there was too much work to do, then there was too much work to do, and we go again tomorrow or on Monday, or where your person is not capable of delivering. But to always give people more than they can deliver as just normal when they're not incentivized relative to the amount of work that month.
We get lots of questions like this, and see people want to know your headphones, are they Beats? Someone likes them. Someone was rude about your headphones the other day. They said they looked like they came out of a Lucky. Those are pretty sharp. Where are they from? What kind are they?
They are Skull Candy, not Beats.
It'd be so funny if you made headphones that looked like beetroots and called them Beats. I would pay for that. But I've been trying to get a freebie bribe headphones from the listeners for 3 years, saying, look, I'll plug them. Even if Gareth doesn't want me to, I'll have done it before he can stop me. I'll plug them. Just give me some free headphones. And then I went and I bought some headphones, and they were brilliant. I used them on the last couple of shows, and they were brilliant. And then they just stopped working. But the most satanic thing was, because Bluetooth headphones, they go connected, pairing, power on, connected. And it
I've got
wouldn't stop doing that. And you can still hear it even if it's not in your head. I eventually had to put them in the guest room cupboard until the battery died. Then I plugged it in to check if maybe that would fix the problem. And it was going connected for the next 24 hours. I almost set it on fire.
I listen to podcasts even when I'm showering. So I have a little speaker in the shower that I switch on. I turn on the water in the shower, then I switch on the speaker, and it goes connecting to cuboid or whatever this thing is called. And then it's a Smart cuboid. They guys who make like local tech products, very good company actually. And then it connects, and then it goes connected, but it starts off by going, "How's it?" Because it's South African, so it goes, "How's it?"
I've come to realize, like, I don't know if there's not scientifically accurate way to test the theory. It could be correlation and not cause. But I've started watching a YouTuber who's Hawaiian, and he does, like, he says aloha like he's from there, right? Because he's like a white dude, but he looks like a little bit like he's probably not first generation Hawaiian. He's got that Hawaiian white dude vibe, and he goes, "How's it? Aloha." And that's like his thing. How's it? Aloha. But he says how's it like he's from Joburg. So that's amazing. I think how's it may be a Hawaiian thing also. Either that or it's his personal thing, and it just happens to be, he goes, "How's it? Aloha." It's very cool. I can't fake it. You can't fake the cool aloha unless you're from there.
Steph also wants to know. Steph's asking lots of questions this morning about Sia's headphones and now what are my top 10 podcasts. Well, I'm not going to go through top 10, but the other day I gave a couple of suggestions. I've been a fan of this podcast, which if you haven't heard it at all, it's really cool and it's worth listening to. It's just hilarious and crazy and out there. It's something called Dear Joan and Jerica. Dear Joan and Jerica.
Oh, yes.
Is this thing funny or what? If you've never heard it, so it looks something like that. That's the little icon, right? Dear Joan and Jerica. And these women are, oh, Jesus, they're funny. So they're basically these two women who give like agony aunt advice, but all their advice is extremely bad and very, very vicious and completely like old school. So they blame everything in relationships that goes wrong on the women. And they always say, "Oh, it's because you don't care about your man enough, and you're not obviously not putting out enough, and you're not wearing slutty outfits." And like it's these two women, and they've got this really messed up idea. Yeah. So if you really want to laugh your head off, I'm not going to give you 10 podcasts to listen to, but that's one to add some things.
My favorites are the King and the Sting, the Bill Burt podcast, and Answers with Joe.
I haven't heard any of those. What's the gist?
Bill Burt is Bill Burr and Bert Kreischer, the Bill Burt podcast, and it's excellent. They have a weekly conversation, and it's totally brilliant. King and the Sting is Theo Von and Brendan Schaub, and then they have like this team of like, they're called Culture Corner. They've got a black dude, a Korean guy, I think Kat's Vietnamese, and they defer anything that may be racist to them. So when they're like having a conversation and they can't decide the political correctness, they defer it to Culture Corner. Chappelle Lacey is this really funny comedian who's there. It's really good. It's super funny, but they look like morons. If you have to watch like 2 or 3 full episodes to realize there's like a humor subtext and that they're actually not just idiots being idiots. They're quite smart. And I love the King and the Sting.
I remember when we were on radio, we used to have the King of all blacks and the King of all Indians, and then we had the Queen of all. We had the Queen of all colors. I mean, we could never do that now because we'd be accused of all kinds of racism. But whenever like something came up and we needed to know how to deal with it from a race point of view, we'd ask the King of all blacks, and then he'd give us his like take on things.
Well, that's essentially a light-hearted take on that. Although all of the people in Culture Corner are there on the merits of that they're cool and funny, but they just happen to be ethnically diverse, where the two hosts are not. So they made it a thing. It's very good. I look forward to it every week.
Tracy's asking another housekeeping question. She says, "What happened to the Cliff Central earphones?" Well, we sold out. We made like a couple of thousand of them, and they're all sold out. I don't think there are any available anymore. It was kind of an experiment in product and merchandising, and it was a bit of a headache. I mean, people loved them, and it went really well. But I have to tell you, it's not really our thing. You know, McDonald's shouldn't sell fish. I've said that a million times before.
That
People
fish
enjoy
is
it.
big. That filet fish is an institution. I don't personally care for it, but I know there's enough people where filet fish is a part of their life that we shouldn't just go unilaterally deciding what McDonald's should sell.
I still have my earphones actually still in the box, still in the plastic wrapping, because I have a feeling one day I'll be able to sell them for a ridiculous amount of money.
Which ones? Your Gareth Cliff, your Cliff Show ones?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a certain number of things that I have that I'm just sitting on waiting for the day.
I know that there were
like
still some when I started
auction
casually.
it off.
I know that there were still some when I started casually dropping how badly I had like a free pair of headphones. So I'm not. It's not putting any soothe on the wound.
Oh, God.
Winsterian Pikachu, which is the best name of anyone who listens to us, says he's giving us a little bit of language here in terms of where how's it comes from. He's even given us the how's it phonetic pronunciation. It says it's an exclamation in informal South African used as a greeting. It's the equivalent to hello or how are you? How's it, my China? Are you surprised to see me?
But the phonetic spelling is HAARZIT. How's it?
Yeah. How's it?
How's it, China? Like, you guys don't know how to speak, but.
Eleutheria says, I want a shower speaker. Yeah, it's a very cool thing. Like, I don't take very long showers, but it's nice to have when you're in the shower, it kind of accompanies what is normally a very boring washing of hair and general.
No part of me is boring, I'll have you know. Getting up close and personal with it is always a privilege. But I bust out. I go full Broadway. I create entire like pantomimes and musicals usually about Blackie Chan and sometimes about how wet water is. But it's a time for me. I wouldn't want anybody stealing my spotlight. It's like you don't want Christina Aguilera as your backup singer. It's my moment.
You absolutely do.
No, you don't. Same as you don't want Eminem dropping the last verse guesting on your song.
No.
Simon Gerber says, "Yeah, I'll give you $20 for your headphones."
If they're US bucks, wait a couple of weeks. That might be worth a lot.
Simon, you need to give me a better offer than this. Come on. See?
Does he mean actual bucks though? Because we might be misunderstanding the offer, and this could actually be. That's a really good deal. Even if they Impala, 20 of them for a pair of headphones, go for it.
I could take some kudu for that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You could do with some kudu. Right?
Here's Mo from Ireland, who sent this email to me. Calm down, you two. Mo says this, hey, Gareth, seeing you guys on screen is definitely... Let's just let them calm down. This will take a minute, everybody.
The only reason I do this so I can make him laugh at least once every time.
Yes, Gordon, yes. Okay, sorry.
Okay, we could do with moving on.
I've started the timer. It's usually they stop laughing hysterically at each other and only at each other after about 20 seconds. So we're almost there.
I apologize. Okay.
There we are. So Mo in Ireland says, watching you guys live on YouTube is making me feel a whole lot better about life. It looks like everybody has a great time. We broke the law in Ireland. It's still in full lockdown. And we had 13 people over for my wife's birthday on Saturday night.
Oh.
We smashed tequila and got shit-faced. My mate
so that if
was
one of your friends doesn't arrive or gets too hammered to participate, you have the spare one, right?
Yeah, you have 13 instead of 12. My mate was so hammered he spent the whole night snacking on my cat food, thinking they were corn nips.
I wonder what cat food tastes like. I mean, not the liquid, not the wet kind. No, the kibble, the brown rocks. And I also wonder if Blackie Chan wonders where the brown rocks come from. Like, what is the source of the brown rocks? Because that's literally our house cat's natural diet: small brown stones.
Yeah, well, Mo says he likes sharing his stories with us because he says we feel like family. Isn't that nice?
Oh, Mo, my bro.
All right, let's look at this. This is an interesting message. This is from someone who wants to remain anonymous. I'm a long-time listener. I want to say you and the team are doing a great job during lockdown because it's nonsense that we've been through, but less about that. I'll get straight into it. I am in love with Leanne Mole. I have a marriage proposal for her. I'm on my knees. Can she be my voice wife? I know she works a little in the porn industry with her voice, but I can look past that and we can make it work. If she says yes, she can wear one of the many rings that she has in her box while I send her mine. I have been home
a
in
little bit sketchy, just to throw it out there. NSFW.
Yeah, no. But what we'll do is we'll clear this up with Leanne.
Rings and boxes. Let's move on.
So I've been home in Zimbabwe for 3 weeks now, and I've got to say things are way worse than I thought they were in terms of government. I mean, people are still trying by all means to succeed and do their thing, despite the government's mercilessly screwing things up. They can't help themselves. The one issue I picked up, which got me, was the transport system. Granted, public taxis that are on the road are in the worst conditions you can imagine. Practically, they are moving on 2 wheels with one door open. But the government decided to ban all taxis from transporting people and institute public transportation. This would be great if they had buses and taxis to do that. So they forced every taxi and bus owner to register their cars and fall under public transport, but the government gets to keep the money. It pays them every fortnight, a small percentage, plus gives fuel. You know, if you want to see how to run an economy badly, just copy and paste the idiots in Zimbabwe with their ideas. If the taxi is damaged, government gives spares to fix it, and then they take it out of their cut. Since it's not profitable, many of the owners have chosen not to look after their cars. As a result, it's caused a massive shortage of transport and has resulted in some of the unsafe modes of transport. People are now being carried around in buckies, and they attached this picture of like a whole lot of people in the back of like a Mitsubishi bucky from the 1990s. And cars like the Nissan March, which has a capacity of 4, but then they carry 8. I just wanted to vent a little, since if you do on this side, you might end up in jail or disappear. My bad for a long email. Again, shout out to you and the one who shat his pants, who shall not be named. That's you, Sia.
So that was both a update on the traffic situation in Zimbabwe, and we totally glossed over the proposal to Leanne.
No, we will not.
We will pass that on to Leanne. Very serious.
But if it's a voice marriage, our homie needs to voice note. Because that might have all been like, in Zimbabwe, it's really crap at the moment with the traffic. They've put everyone in buckies. But I love Leanne's voice. Can we get voice married? Or else he might be like, hello, Leanne.
Yeah,
and then it will be super essential. They'll sound like the main characters in an audio soap opera.
That's a very good point.
Something so sad and off-putting about someone good-looking or even just decent-looking with a horrible voice. Oh,
yeah.
Or the vice versa.
Oh,
well, that's why they
I found out Jenny Chris Williams wasn't a gorgeous woman in her late 20s after years of listening to her on the way home from high school. I'm not trying to throw shade on her. I mean, I'm not saying she's an unattractive woman. I just didn't know she was like a 60-year-old tunny. I thought she was like in that milfy hot thing, you know, when you're like 14 and someone in their 30s is like super hot milf, sort of like hot teacher / young mom age. You know, when you're 17, 30, 35 is as good as being 50, but it's not like ancient. You could still ostensibly have a thing for someone who's 30 or 35 or 40 even. But I just imagined this belter of like the most attractive MILF you could ever dream of. And when I saw her, I was like, it's all ruined now. I listened to so much news for nothing.
Yeah. Well, listen, they say you shouldn't meet your heroes, especially not if you've only heard their voices.
I've got Metallica. Those dudes are awesome.
I got good news for everybody who only tunes into YouTube to see us. This morning, the great-looking Sean Sanders will join us, the co-founder of Revix, to tell us about cryptocurrencies. But many people only enjoy this part of the show because Sean used to be a cover model for Men's Health.
He is such a gosh darn babe. Him and George Meany, it's like you find these incredibly successful, blindingly handsome people, but you can't hate them because they're nice.
No, that's about right.
It's so crap when you can't hate them.
Yeah.
It's like, don't you just be a bit of a dick at least once? Come on, man.
And then it would make it okay to hate them. Sean says, on the James May thing, they cook. James May has a cooking show, apparently, on Amazon Prime. And they cook wet cat food into shepherd's pies. And he and the producer eat it, and they quite enjoy it. That
dude, I'm for real going to vom. Thinking about
that's
the smell of wet
so
cat
disgusting.
food makes me want to vom. I can't feed a cat wet cat food. I literally have to just go human grade tuna and brown rocks. And like cat treats from the vet. Oh, no, dude, I promise you, the idea of wet cat food.
When you say wet cat food, you mean the stuff in the tin, right? Oh. And they made that into shepherd's pie.
Oh, that stuff smells like a snook brothel.
Oh God, that's horrible. Oh, that's disgusting. Lanice says she loves the cooking show. I can't. Okay, I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, Tracy Bard is heaving me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was mid-hit of a joint as well. That would have been the most spectacular online radio event in history. Man gags projectile vomits into camera.
I can imagine. So Eleutheria says, I won a quiz last week because I listened to George Meany. He's taught me so much about cars. You see?
That come for George Meany and there's day for the cars.
Hey, apparently that video, if you do want to see it, Gord, although I suppose you'll probably throw up, but if you do want to see it, it's on YouTube. Of James May eating cat food. I think I can skip that. I think I'll be okay.
If I hadn't not eaten for the last 12 hours, I would have hurled just from that conversation.
Oh my God, how horrible.
Just the smell of it.
It's
I can't.
So bad. Carl eats a little bit of that wet dog food in a tin, and then I mix it up with pellets, so he gets a bit of both, and then I put some water on it as well.
You get that lunch bar effect. You get the crunchy and the
smooth. It's so horrible.
Maybe he hates one and loves the other and can't ever express to you, like, could you stop ruining my tin stuff with the rock?
I think about that. I sometimes give him
experiment by putting them on the side, doing one on top of the other, give it a good mix.
Yeah, it's probably I should do an experimental situation with him this week. I'll put one bowl with the wet stuff and one bowl with the dry, and we'll see which one he goes for.
Yeah, he's got chameleon eyes. I love that he can look at two different things at once.
Yeah. I've got to watch this because I always thought James May was pretty funny on
the least of a douche out of those douches.
Yeah. What was that show called? Top Gear. Top Gear.
Now it's called the Grand Tour.
Yeah.
There is a skit. There is a skit on YouTube called Clarkson Island. I forget who made it, but if you look for Clarkson Island, it's a parody about an island where all the Clarksons come from. It is the funniest shit ever.
It's by Harry Enfield.
It is so good, and it also just so cuttingly points out what douches those guys are, especially Clarkson.
Yeah, I like them both, though. They're very, very funny. And that what's the little guy, Richard Hammond?
Nah, they're both. I mean, look, they got a good turn of phrase. I'll give them that. I remember when I was taking I still take writing seriously, but really trying to learn and take in as many good writers as possible. And one of his comments on the show was, "At that price, it better come with its own moon." And just the way that he delivered it, I was like, "Yeah, great turn of phrase, but you're still a douche." Apparently, they were so unbearable to the producers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we can do whatever we want, and you shut up, sweetheart, that kind of thing. They're just blokes. They're like old dudes that are a bit tone deaf to why their humor's not funny. And I'm not a snowflake and whatever. You just sometimes like, that was meant to make you big and the other person small. That was what that joke was, yeah. Good job, guys.
Claire and James both want to know questions from you. They want answers from you, Gord. The first question is from James. He says, are you the voice dude for a florist company on radio?
I've done an ad for a florist company, except I was kind of a supporting character.
Okay. And then Claire says, Gord, you've got to give Blackie Chan the cat moose vibe in the very small tin. Just once for her birthday. It's amazing.
I thought that it said cat mouse in a tin. And I'm like, that is genius. Like, that's what a cat's natural diet is. They eat mice, right? So, Blackie Chan, you're the best mouse keeper. She's looking forlornly out the door, and I have to keep the door closed because it's early, and then the neighbors complain when I talk too loud in the day. So Blackie Chan is literally staring out. She's other ways she can get out, but the door is her chosen way, and she's like sitting parked in front of it forlornly.
So is there cat mousse? Is that something you could buy?
Yeah, if that's a thing and cats love it, I'll go get it. I don't care what it costs. Now Blackie Chan will know about it, and so therefore expect me to provide it immediately.
He speaks English.
Does it smell like a snook brothel when you open it?
Oof, that's horrible.
Blackie Chan, come here, show the people. Come in.
Yeah, introduce. Yeah, put Blackie Chan on the screen. Yeah, we want to see it. People always ask for this stuff. I don't know if anybody saw this, and once Gord has shown us the cat, then I'll carry on with the story. But basically, There we go. There's Blackie Chan, the famous Blackie Chan. Blackie Chan is so dark and so black that she actually absorbs light from. You can't
She's made
see.
of anti-catter. She's actually the absence of cat. So a room with no cats in it has plus -1 more cats than when Blackie Chan's around. You have to put a cat in a room with Blackie Chan to get it to 0. Except we don't know what will happen if Blackie Chan and an all-white cat come into contact. They'll either just cancel each other out and a little drop of water will form and it'll go boop, or the entire universe will be torn asunder. So we avoid these experiments. But Blackie Chan is not really there. She's a cat-shaped hole in the universe.
I've got to tell you the story quickly that came up in the news this week, and it's a great story because it's about what's going on in South Africa. And I know you're going to hate this as much as I do, Gord, because there are a lot of people who drive these fancy cars, and they claim in their tax returns that they're earning less than 34 grand a month. So Judge Dennis Davis, who's been, he's been very outspoken. He's got the Dennis Davis Tax Committee, which is trying to figure out what people really earn and what they declare. He said during a webinar this week that in South Africa, they went to a hotel, a very expensive hotel in South Africa, and they could have either been Cape Town or Joburg, I'm not sure. They found 24 Ferraris parked outside, right? Or 26 Ferraris.
All parked outside.
Yeah. And they were all being driven by people who were inside the hotel or at a restaurant nearby or whatever. So what they did is they did, because SARS can do this, they did a search on the license plates to see who owned them and what their tax returns were. Ooh. Data highlighted that apparently not one of those 26 Ferraris owners returned a taxable income of more than 400,000 Rand a year or 34,000 Rand a month, which means they were all
money left because they're buying Ferraris.
No, but the point is you can't afford a Ferrari if you're only on 34 grand a month.
Stick a tiny sticker on it that says Ferrari Delivery Company, FDC, and then once a month deliver someone something in a Ferrari for 10 Rand. And now it's not only a taxable income, but it's the reason you only have 35 grand a month, because you're spending 90 on your company delivery Ferrari.
You know what we mean.
I know, but I mean, these guys are one sticker and a drop off at a pal's house a month away from having no problem.
That's not legit. And you should, if you are driving a Ferrari, you should be earning a lot more than that. And he was basically saying,
and you should first use the money to have a penis attached to your body.
Correct.
What
a way. But it just shows you, the point here is that, like, you've got all these people driving in these very fancy sports cars, these very expensive supercars, and they can't afford them, or they're lying about the fact that they earn so little, which is probably more likely, just so that they can dodge tax. Either way, I mean, this is costing the country, and I'm no fan of tax, by the way. I think if you can avoid,
I would love to not pay it. I mean, when I don't have electricity for more than one day a year, you should not have my hundreds of thousands of tax Rand.
I agree with that.
Most of the wealthy and wealthier people that I know in my life have some sort of loophole that they're going
Well, tax
through.
Avoidance is legal and to an extent kind of not encouraged, but considered best practice. Due diligence. Tax evasion's illegal. So, these guys who are earning nothing and owning Ferraris, they're obviously doing it on a criminal level. But, just in terms of like that whole thing of buying stuff you can't necessarily afford. Like, I'm not one to judge. It's not, if I don't have the money for a 2 million Rand Merc, so I can't criticize people who do. Like, I made the no penis joke now about people with Ferraris. I don't want to be that oak who doesn't have a supercar throwing shade on people who do. I do personally think, though, that if I had an unlimited amount of money, there are so many things. I would just feel like a douche in a Ferrari. But someone who's made the money and got a Ferrari, good for you. Thing is, in my complex, there's a very sort of middling Norwegian complex. And I see half of the places here have cars parked in the parking spaces, half of them, that cost more than any unit in this complex. I don't think there's a unit in this complex goes for more than 1.5 bar max. They're all 2-bedroom units. And there's cars for 1 to 2 million. Half of the cars are worth more than the houses. And I'm pretty sure those people are renting too. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but literally I'm seeing like 15 to 20,000 Rand car payments in my mind, and like half of that in rent.
I know people whose cars are more expensive than their property.
If you're huge into cars and you don't mind a place that's utilitarian, I mean, that's not a criticism. I'm just like, it's something I've noted.
But I do think that since lockdowns and coronavirus, I think people's cars are making, you see people's cars a whole lot less. You see their houses more because they're on conference calls and things. Maybe you should be spending your money if you like impressing people on your house rather than your car. Just saying.
I mean, look, some people who've got the money and they like to drive an amazing experience. I'm not, again, being a dick without a fancy car. But it's sometimes just sort of an indicator of which fancy car is an indicator of mindset. And also the comparison between house and car is a good way to sort of see what a person's priorities are in terms of wealth.
Sia, you wanted to say something?
But if someone wants to show off, they'll always show off regardless. My friends and
when people have the opportunity, it's how they show off.
Oh, yeah. They will always find the opportunity, though. That's the thing. My friends and I have this particular criteria that we now start to use as we view someone who shows off. There's the type of person who will always keep their phone, their card holder, or their car keys in their hands, even when there's no need, just so that you can see what they're up to. Someone will now just be, swinging their keys around so that you can see what they're driving. Or there's someone who will very innocently, in inverted commas, take a photo of their lunch, for example, at a restaurant, but somehow there's their card holder which strategically has their black card popping out, or so that you see what it is. It's just like
cool fails in any aspect, whether it's showing off with your money or how woke you are or your hip slick rock and roll vibe. All forms of cool fail when you're trying. And especially when it's tangible that you're trying. Some people can pull it off by trying in a way that is very well executed and doesn't appear like trying. But if you have the fancy ass car and you park it, and without like being a dick who doesn't give a shit and dents it on purpose, if you just get out like it ain't no thing and you have the afternoon and you get back in, then it's like, oh, that dude's car is cool. As soon as you're like, hey, look at me, you're like, that's such a douchebag car, and you're obviously compensating for something. Like, you lose all the value. You put in so much money and effort to be cool in the way you want, and then you blow it by just waving the little flag.
And then there'll be the type of people who can rightfully brag about money or the things that they have, but they're the ones who really don't. So I remember ages ago, a friend of mine and I, we went out for drinks and dinner, and there was a table next to us of two gentlemen who were very interested in my friend. And they were sort of just like flirting every now and then, and we're like, yeah, whatever. We're just here to have fun. We're minding our own business. And as the night was winding to a close, the gentlemen were asking us, where are you guys going after this? And we're like, no, we're going home and we're just going to take an Uber. And the one guy says, actually, no, don't worry, you don't have to take an Uber. I'll drive you guys home. And we were staying at the same place. So we were like, oh, okay, screw it, whatever. And we leave with these guys, and these two guys were parked next to each other. The guy who offered to drive us home,
they weren't in one vehicle.
No. They were in two different cars parked side by side. The one who was willing to drive us home, the loud one, the brash one who really wanted to, make an effort. No disrespect, was just in a Ford little something. The guy who was coy and quiet and reserved, who my friend was not paying attention to at all, was in a Porsche. We're like, girl, we need a change of plans, revert. Wow. We need to go back to the drawing board.
You just let people know that you would accept lifts from.
You just let if that you don't. So basically, you're saying if Quiet Guy had left his Porsche key on the table, you would have chatted with him a lot more. So all that stuff you were just judging, criticizing, and complaining about, he should have done that because it would have worked.
It would have worked. Look, I'm not gonna be shy about it. Long story short, since I've already put myself in this position.
So if you drive a Porsche and you see Sia, and you fancy a bit of Sia, and you're a handsome, eligible young gentleman, put the keys on the goddamn table, mate. You just paid $2,000 for something, and you're wasting it.
We did coax this gentleman.
$2 million, sorry.
Like, okay, go and talk to him, go and talk to him. While we were in the car park, that whole game plan changed. And yes, we did drive home in the
But a
Porsche.
Ford Figo usually equates to one of two things: either broke or really good in bed and doesn't need a Porsche. I mean, I can't afford a Porsche.
No.
I'm not pretending, I could have a Porsche if I wanted one, but I could definitely have a fancier car if it was a priority.
Yeah.
My crap Toyota that reminds me of the crap X I bought it from is fine for the twice a week I leave the house. I could get something nicer, but I just...
I mean, Simon really summarizes the whole thing. Simon says the poor act like they're rich and the rich act like they're poor. That's exactly right.
I see some of the rich acting like they're pretty rich, if I'm honest.
Well, yeah. Sometimes they'll just protest too much. You know, these people are like they're trying to give the idea that they are rich. Now, an interesting point being made by Jonathan Witt. He says it should occur to Dennis Davis that people who own Ferraris are usually older and they may actually have that money in the bank and therefore no longer earning that much a month, which is a very good point.
That's a pretty good point.
People can earn dividends, but otherwise take small salaries from their companies. That's another good point.
And you can put cars through the company.
Yeah, that doesn't really help you from a tax point of view anymore. But every person he says he knows who owns a supercar does so because they're car people, not because they're trying to show off.
Yeah, and if you've got the money in the bank and you love Ferraris, then by all means, it's just the people who get it as a douche symbol that and can't really afford it that I raise an eyebrow at and go, "What's wrong with your life, mate?" Those that have got lots of money and want to spend their rich years racing Ferraris, knock yourselves out.
It's
by the way, just to end this topic off, because there's plenty of other stuff we've got to still get to this morning if we have the time, but there's also the point to be made that we would rather have, even the crooks, we would rather have them buying supercars because that's what keeps the economy going. I'd rather know that some horrible BEE tenderpreneur who's basically skimming 90% off a government contract and using our tax money for nefarious purposes. I'd rather have him putting that money straight back into the economy by buying himself shiny things than actually saving it or putting it into investments which don't help stimulate the local economy. So we've got to remember that car, that supercar that gets bought, it pays for the secretary who works at the dealership, it pays for the security guard at the entrance, the guy who cleans the oil at the petrol station. You know, that's how things work. So we mustn't complain.
What a sad level we've reached as society. If that's what we have to consider. Like, at least you're going to scam us.
You do.
We've got the echo on Sia again, unless I'm the only one hearing it. Oh, it's me too.
I can't hear an echo. There's nothing wrong on this side. Clinton says Ferrari is like a midlife crisis. Yeah, that's also true. I mean, I do know lots of people who have Ferraris who are not going through any crisis at all. They're way past middle age as well. Or they're young and they've done really well and they just want to reward themselves with something.
But if my deputy Dr. Phil hat on, what I've noticed about some people in my life, ever since I haven't had a car, is they project what a car means to them. And I've been saying I'm in no rush to get a new car. If I get a car, I get a car. But right now, I don't know. I'm just like...
For some people, it's an important part of their identity. It's like some people, it matters to them hugely what shoes they're wearing or, what shop they shop at.
I'm guilty of that. Like, I absolutely love sneakers. I love to pride myself on how like non-commercial I am with my personal branding. And I am now officially, as of yesterday, and this is a really big deal for me. This is one that matters. I'm able to buy underwear from ordinary stores. And that is a line where being on either side of it, even just by a little bit, is a huge impact on your quality of life as a person who struggles with weight.
Okay. Oh, you mean you can buy... right. I understand. Because buying underwear is impossible for ordinary...
Not being able to get underwear is a really difficult thing when it's a real problem in your life.
Where do you buy underwear if you're fat?
There's a few places you can go. And then once you pass that, you got to import them, which I was doing from the States. And then after that, you got to take a pair you like and get them made by like a clothing maker that can model the one you like and make it a bit bigger. I've had that done as well a lot with shorts. So I'm back in my Air Jordan shorts and my regular. I mean, look, they're 2XLs, but I can just go in a shop and pick underwear off the rack. And if they got a 2XL, I'm good. So that's really cool. But I'm kind of like, that was a big deal for me. Generally speaking, brands on clothing aren't, but I've got a thing for Nike Air Max 1s. I become the most commercial, soulless consumer in the world when you throw one of those in front of me. It's like I have to avoid at all costs websites and shit that sell them because I can't not buy them.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I've got to answer another question here. People are sending lots and lots of questions. So this one's from Savage Reader. Oi, Big G, did you see the cheat sheet that Biden had when they had pictures of reporters he must answer to with ready-made answers? Yeah, that's that. I'm afraid if you still think that the majority of the American media establishment isn't completely in the pocket of the Democratic Party, you are not paying attention to either the media or the Democratic Party, because that link is like it's like a wormhole. Whatever goes in one side comes out on the other, and vice versa. The two are almost completely speaking with the same voice. There's no difference. So if you think,
sorry, GC.
No. If you think that there's any kind of objectivity left in the mainstream media in America, you are completely mistaken.
There was that great episode of South Park where it was an allegory for politics, and they were trying to nominate a new mascot for the school team, and the choice was between a giant turd and a huge douche. And that was like, you had to, and there was this huge, that people started fighting, and it like divided the whole town because there was something racist about the school mascot being the cow. You know, they called the South Park cows, and their mascot's a cow. So they had to change it. And then the two proposals were just both terrible options. And it was so funny. If you haven't seen that episode, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but just search for South Park douche and giant poo. And you'll
Savage Reader also wants to know how the butter chicken was that my sister's boyfriend made for us on Sunday. It was awesome. My God. Like I love a good butter chicken. Oh,
dude,
man.
I will make you a butter chicken when you come and visit me. I've learned on this keto jawl how to make some stuff, and I make a butter chicken that is. I'm on the brink of being actual kitchen sexy, not just capable of cooking, but like sexy when I do it because I'm getting skilled. So yeah, beware.
I accept your offer. Alistair says there's a business called Fat Man Underwear. Do you know about that?
I would love to have known about that a couple of months and for the last 5 years or so and for the first 28 years of my life. But I've Googled a lot, and usually, I mean, I don't know this one, so I can't say, well, that doesn't work. But most things like that, you get there and they don't ship here, or it's got to go through the post office or something. So what I've got is a mate with a business that ships things, and you can't like order from JCPenney if you're not inside the States.
Right.
Even with the power of Tunnel Bear VPN, they still know that your credit card is your credit card is from the wrong country. So my buddy Gil, he's got to buy them, have them shipped to his company, and then bring them here when his company brings stuff here. It takes a couple of months, and it costs about you end up spending $3-4 grand on 12 pairs of underwear.
Well, Tabo's horrified that I said, where do you buy underwear if you're fat? How else are you meant to ask that question?
Oh, gosh.
At which location, in the event that you are rotund, do you purchase garments for the under?
Right.
No, I think Amy thinks you were being insensitive calling me fat. I think fat is the best adjective for fat. And if other people want to be offended on my behalf, they can. I think you're calling someone nasty, horrible shit. I also don't think that's okay. But the word fat, to me, is like, it's the best word for fat. What else are we going to skirt around? Give me a snowflake word for fat and we'll use that instead.
Well, there are those body positivity people, and they say that there's a fat community, which I think is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. It's like, what, all the fat people get together and have meetings about being fat? Gord, you haven't been to one of those meetings, have you?
No, but I've come to realize that, you do need support infrastructure when there's essentially something very wrong with you and you don't know what the cause is or how to fix it. Like, I've only realized now at almost 40 that it's not actually me. I'm just especially intolerant of carbs in a society where the primary food source isn't food. So I'm not becoming evangelical on the keto thing. I've just come to realize that actually it's not just spending your life trying to ignore and fight against the screaming voice. You can actually turn the screaming voice off. So when you think that that's your life and there's nothing you can do about it and no one can understand, because thin people telling you how to diet is totally useless, it's good to be with other people that get it, because there's a lot we go through that you just don't know or can't talk about, like never having underwear.
Are you saying there is a fat community? I mean, the first thing
I understand the need for support groups and a community. Like, to support each other, because there's a lot that only someone who's been through it and going through it can understand. There's a lot of stuff other people don't even know about that you just would never
Would you
want to
do me
say.
a favor? Could you please just put on an email where these fat community meetings are, so I know to avoid them?
No, I told you I don't. I've never been to one, and I'd also rather avoid them. But I understand why people suffering from something would want to have groups.
I imagine nothing worse than stumbling in on one of those fat community meetings by
The
mistake.
chairs would be very sturdy,
Gareth.
and the snacks would probably be quite good.
You know, Gordo, you've never been to my house, and you know I've got a no fat people, no communist rule. But the way you're losing weight, soon you'll be allowed.
I'll be allowed, yeah,
That's great.
and I'll be nimble enough to come catch the rabbits. I want to
By
hit
the
the
way-
ground rabbiting.
I wish I had
There's
some
a
updates.
daily rabbit mention.
Yeah, we haven't had a rabbit mention because they haven't been back since
I've
last
got a
year.
new theory. You know the carrot and the stick, right? You know the one where you can like ride a simpleton animal by holding a carrot on a stick just in front of it and it will keep chasing it. So I've got an idea
Yes.
for the bunnies, right? A very long stick with a
Yeah.
stuffed bear on the other side. And you hold it on the other side of them and shake it and they'll run toward you. So it's the opposite of the carrot thing. It's like you just fake bear chase them towards you.
I
And
don't know.
why did you think about this exactly?
Because I've got Gareth's rabbits are on my mind a lot.
Yeah, well, you know what?
Friesland and
Gandalf.
Gandalf. There are, unfortunately, I really do believe that it's been such a long time now. We have to accept they're both dead. So we've got to stop talking about these rabbits like they're in the present
But
tense.
your complex is going to get new ones to freeze in the winter. They replace them every spring and autumn.
Can I tell you what we had yesterday is quite a big deal on our like neighborhood WhatsApp group, which I mute it, but occasionally I'll check in. There was a bird of prey that it flew into something and it was injured, and it was next to the side of the road. It turns out to be like a honey buzzard or something. I'm no expert on birds, but my brother is. He said it's a honey buzzard, so it's quite a substantial bird of prey, and they've apparently been spotted in the area. It must have been disorientated, or it must have misjudged a distance. And those things have, birds of prey have the most incredible eyesight of all animals. They really, like an osprey is famous for being, able to see things from hundreds and hundreds of meters away.
And they
Anyway,
see in UV, which is the most awesome thing. Sorry to interrupt, but it's important that people Google pigeons under UV, because you think pigeons are the lamest, shittest looking birds ever. They are properly on some fabulous shit. Birds can see the UV spectrum like when you're under a blue light, and the actual patterns and shit are predominantly UV. So they appreciate a green and a purple feather, Mr. Lurie. But what they appreciate more is when you like burst into flame like an installation at Burning Man when I look at you with my UV eyes. So if you go look at birds under UV, you see birds the way that other birds see the birds. And you'll know that pigeons deserve some respect on their name for their floss game.
That's very cool. I didn't know that at all. That's fantastic.
Geez, neither did I.
Because pigeons really are
sexy as hell. And they got that cool we were talking about earlier where they're just like, oh, yeah, you think we're pigeons? Wait until the rave.
Meanwhile, they are like they're like all on MDMA. All right,
if you let a bunch of pigeons loose in a rave where people are already on drugs, and they could then see the pigeons the way they really look, brain explosions, like that episode of The Boys where just heads explode.
Oh my God. Okay, that's fantastic. I will look this up immediately. But this bird of prey was disorientated, might have flown into something, and luckily it was okay because it did get up eventually and fly away. But I mean, that's like a lot more exciting than seeing a
Would have been
rabbit.
fine if it was a bird of science.
It took me a moment to get that one.
It
took
wouldn't
me a
be
moment.
so unless we had some stab at religion and a mention of the rabbits. So thanks for that, Gordo. You're
At
nothing.
least you aren't, Gareth, at least you aren't getting birds flying into your window anymore.
No, that's still happening here.
It's
It's mostly
Birds commit suicide against your house. That's quite
They do.
antichristy of you, Gareth.
I know they fly straight into the windows, and then they leave this mark of pushed up against the window. And then you see the body on the ground. I mean, a lot of them
You
fly.
could just let it gather for a day or two and then pick up the pieces and it's ready to braai.
Ew, Gord.
They fly hard enough to disassemble themselves.
No, it's really bad. I mean, I don't know why they're doing it, but
You were talking about the bird with the eyesight. So, like, that's another thing. They can not only see you with like an eye that's the equivalent of like one of the most awesome handheld telescopes you can get. You also glow with rave colors while you think you're hiding in the green leaves. I'm a tiny ferret and I'm under lots of leaves. You're going with rave energy that the eye can see from almost space.
I did not know about this UV thing, but maybe
Put a picture on the screen.
In my neighborhood have really terrible eyesight, so maybe there's like some kind of macular degeneration problem going on with birds in my
flying
neighborhood.
into things.
Ultraviolet.
Oh,
You learn something new. Don't you know what? Even if it starts at 6 a.m., Gord, we value you for teaching us new things.
In the early 1970s, a researcher testing the ability of pigeons to discriminate colors discovered by accident that the birds can see ultraviolet, in brackets UV light. But during the following decade, systematic testing of bird vision revealed something unexpected. Many bird species, not just pigeons, can see UV light.
Oh.
amazing. Yeah, I want to see pictures of that. I wonder if we could put on like UV lights, put them in a room and just observe them for a little bit. That sounds really cool. All right. Captain Cook says, I don't know what this means, but heard Gord on Deals ad this week. Are you in a Deals ad?
I work as a voice artist where, as an actor, I perform characters. It's never me. Yeah. So I may play somebody in certain brand adverts, but I prefer not to say.
So what you're saying is it wasn't you?
No, what I'm saying is I don't want to talk about what I do for my clients, whether they're advertising clients or voice clients, or on a show where I have some divisive opinions, and I don't want to be anyone. I don't want anyone's company to suffer because I said something stupid on the radio. It's just acting. I put on an accent, I read the lines, and then I go home.
No, I get you. You don't want to get into discussion about it. Yeah. Okay.
No, but I do lots of ads, and some of these people have correctly called them out. Some of them not. Some of them are right.
But it means people recognize your voice. That's cool. All right.
But there's lots where you would never recognize my voice. I do more voiceovers where you would never in a million years. You're like, who are the douches that do these ads? Like, did you know that you can get up to 25% off selected wheelchairs? Or you go like,
get the Hitachi 7,000 watt man drill from Builder's Face Pace. Builder's Face Pace, men with things. Was $7.99, now $5.99. Save 200 Rand.
If you are wondering where Sean Sanders is, he was not able to join us this morning, but he will join us tomorrow probably.
The only reason I did the show was to look at Sean.
Damn it.
Live. It's special live. I know we can watch old footage of him, but when you know that it's happening now, it's just so much more visceral.
You can see him tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about cryptocurrencies and about some of the new things that Revix is up to. And there's all kinds of cool things. PayPal and Visa have made news this week, and we'll find out about what they've done. So if you're looking at the price, it's actually $58,705 again. It went down to like $52,000 when we last spoke to him. So it shows you how it can swing. It's incredible. That price is just up and down the whole time.
I was going to set up a whole joke about LA gangs and violence and how they're now accepting crypto as currency. But
just
labored, and I decided that's going into the experimental drawer for later.
All right, yeah, keep that one for another time. It seems like you haven't refined that joke properly yet.
It needs work, but I'll come back with it. We got time.
Right. And I do believe you will.
Well, we are on tomorrow and we are on Tuesday next week, but we're certainly not doing the show Friday morning or Monday morning. So
nor should you be wanting to listen to the show unless you're one of those people who streams it. For the live listeners, if you expect a show, you need to get more friends.
Absolutely. And it's time for you to sleep in the mornings on Friday and Monday because it's a long weekend. We don't want you to work. We don't want you to be doing anything important at those times. All right. Thanks, everybody. It's about time. We are calling it quits for the morning, and we will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Thank you, Gordo. Thank you, Sia. And we will check in tomorrow, bright and early, 6 a.m. Be good. If you're not, take photos.
UV pigeons.
UV pigeons.